Welcome. As you watch these gorgeous puppies, you'll see lots of similarities between them, but you'll also see lots of differences in the way they look and in the way that they behave. These differences are called variation, and in this video, we'll be looking at what causes variation. The video is split up into 6 chapters, so feel free to skip ahead if you're confident with some of them. At the end, I've summarised 4 key facts to remember for your exam, and then I've made some questions so you can test yourself and see how much you've understood and remembered. If you're new here, welcome to BioSmash. I'm Jo, I'm a science teacher, and I'll help you understand biology better. Let's start by looking at what variation is. If you look at the people around you, your family and your friends, you'll see that you're all different from each other. But we also have many things in common, for example, the position of our brain, the position of our stomach, the fact that we have 2 lungs. You may already know that our DNA controls how our bodies develop. And if you pick any random human, we would predict that your DNA is 99.9% the same as theirs. But let's go back to the ways that we're different from each other. We call these differences variation. One example of variation is the height of sunflowers. All sunflowers have got genetic factors that make them grow fairly tall, but whether they reach their maximum height will also depend on how much sunlight they receive, whether they have enough water, and other factors. So this tells us that the differences between us, the variation, is due to a combination of both our genetics, our DNA, and our environments. In the next part of the video, we'll look at environmental variation. Some examples of variation are influenced just by our environment and not our genes, such as whether or not you've got a tattoo, whether you have ear piercings, and which languages you speak. If you were born into a different family or lived in a different part of the world, these features about you might be different. Plants are also affected by the environment. If this plant had been stored in a dark cupboard, it would be taller with yellow leaves because plants need light to grow healthily. Some variation between us is controlled entirely by our genes and not affected by the environment. Now we'll look at genetic variation. Some of your genes are important for making the chemicals that make up the coloured part of your eyes. Our eye colour is determined by several different genes working together, and eye colour is an example of genetic variation. Our blood group is another example of a factor that's controlled just by our genes and not our environment. We get our genes from our parents, so we say that we inherit them. And when we have children, we copy our genes and put them into our sperm or egg cells so that they're passed on to our children. Because we only put a proportion of our genes into each egg and sperm cell, this means that each one is unique because it gets a different combination of genes. This is why brothers and sisters who share the same parents look similar to each other but not identical. They each were made using a different egg and sperm cell. The only exception are identical twins. Identical twins have the same DNA. And this is because they started off as one egg and sperm cell that fertilised each other and then split into 2. Most variation between living things is due to a combination of both genetic and environmental variation. For example, if you've got tall parents, you're more likely to be tall, but if a child isn't fed an appropriate diet, they may not reach the maximum potential height. The colour of your skin is largely determined by your genes, but if you spend more time in the sun, it may become darker. And the condition of your teeth depends both on your genes and how well you look after your teeth. Give this video a thumbs up if you're starting to understand this topic better. Let's look at what causes genetic variation. When genes are copied, mistakes can happen, just like when you're copying out work. So, for example, this gene has been copied, but 2 C's have been put where there should be 2 G's. We call these changes to the DNA of the gene a mutation, and different mutations give us different variants of the gene. You might know that we call these different versions of the gene alleles. Some mutations are harmless and give us different versions of the gene. So, for example, we have different coloured eyes because there are different alleles for eye colour. But some mutations change the gene in a harmful way and stop it working correctly. And because the body can't make the particular protein that it needs, this can cause someone to develop health problems. For example, people with cystic fibrosis have a variant in a gene that's needed for the lungs to work correctly, and because this gene's not working correctly, their lungs fill up with a thick and sticky mucus. I really hope you're finding this video helpful. If you are, then please do click subscribe. It will help you to find my other videos. Coming up next, 4 facts to remember if you want to do well at exams. Number 1, differences between members of the same species are called variation, such as fur colour, size, teeth condition. Number 2, there are 2 types of variation, genetic variation and environmental variation. Number 3, most characteristics are due to a combination of genetic and environmental variation, such as height depends on your genes and if you've got tall parents, but also on how well fed you are and if you have enough nutrients to grow. And number 4, mutations cause genetic variation because mutations create new versions of genes. Now we've covered all of the key information, I've put together some questions so you can test how much you've remembered and understood. There are 5 questions in total. For the first 4, I will give you an example of variation and you need to say whether it's genetic, environmental, or due to a combination of both. So here's the first one. A scar. Is that genetic variation, environmental variation, or both? Number 2, your blood group. Number 3, whether or not you develop a condition called cystic fibrosis. And 4, the height of a tree. So for each one, write down G, E, or B. I'm about to tell you the answer, so if you need a little bit more time, pause the video now. So whether or not you have scars depends on your environment and what's happened to you during your lifetime. Your blood group is something that you cannot change, so that is genetic variation. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic condition that's caused by an altered faulty gene. So if you've got cystic fibrosis, that's an example of genetic variation. The height of a tree is both because some trees have genes that make them grow taller than others, but how tall it grows will also depend on how much light and other factors it receives. Our final question, what is variation? So write a definition and try and include keywords. I'm about to tell you the answer, so if you need a little bit more time, pause the video now. Learning keywords and definitions is a really good way to score more marks in your exams. I've made some resources to help you with this, so if you're interested, check out the link below. So here's an example answer. Variation is the differences between individuals of the same species. So get 1 mark for differences, 1 mark for mentioning individuals of the same species or members of the same species. How did you do? Comment below and tell me your score. If you think you've got the hang of this topic, you might want to check out this video next. If you need a bit more time, then feel free to go back and watch this video again until you understand all of the key ideas. Hope to see you again soon.